This week, Tim's talking about buyers' tips. Tim, welcome back again.
Great to be here, Margaret.
Where should buyers start the process when they're about to buy a property?
It's a serious investment. There's no shortcuts. So where you start, I suppose, is get into the market. The internet's a good place to start. Go and speak to your real estate agents, go to open houses, start to get a feel for the market. It is a journey, there's no doubt about that, and it does require you to do some work. It simply won't be the case for the vast majority of us that you'll just stumble across your dream property that will satisfy all of your requirements. One of the other things I always say to people though, before you even start looking for property, make a list of the things that that particular property has to provide you. So for example, if you work here in the city, then you may say to yourself, I really don't like travelling too much, so therefore I want to live somewhere close to the city. And then you make your mind up about what sort of property with your money, how close you can buy. Other people say, look, I don't mind the travel. What I really like is lifestyle. Living on a beach is my thing. I guess it's a bit of a self-discovery process to understand who you are, what that property has to provide for you, schools, travel, accommodation, all of the rest of it. And once you understand that, I think it's then time to go into the market.
So once you've done that general background work, what happens next?
Well, there's a variety of things I guess you can do. As I said a second ago, what you can then start to do once you understand the sort of property you're looking for, you can then go into the market itself and start to go to open houses. Get a feel for what your money will buy you, because that's another thing I guess you have to understand is how much money you have to go into the market. You know, there's obviously, unfortunately in life, some property around Sydney which I'd very much like to be living in, but like your good self, I won't be living in it. So I have to be realistic about what my money can buy me and where I can live. So the next thing you do is get into the market, have a look at it. There is obviously with the internet a variety of mechanisms for us to be able to put filters into it, to have information flowing through to us. And over the course of this journey, as I talked about, the homework or the research or the analysis, all good words, we're starting to build and understand the market. And we get to a stage where we're going to understand who we are, understand what money we've got, understand what's in the market. And once you get to that point, you then start to enter the next phase, I think, of being able to start to participate in the purchase process.
Now, things are changing rapidly in the buying world, and 20 years ago you just went down to your local real estate agent, but these days the internet plays a big part. What can you actually do on the internet in terms of buying property?
Well, what a great question. Probably shouldn't be directed at me, as every time I have an internet question I go to my kids, but I am aware that it's that what you can do, and I joke with you a little here, but you can certainly put filters and all of the like in there, and you can actually go into sites like realestateview.com, for example. Now, Real Estate View has all the properties listed on there. You can go in there, set various filters. So what will happen? You'll get reports. I also put out each Saturday night in New South Wales, I put out a report on auctions by way of a further example. So through Real Estate View, you can subscribe to the auction report. So if you're interested in which particular property was sold on that day, so you don't have to go to the auction, the internet will actually, and I'll be kind enough to send you the report to tell you which properties were sold and how much they were sold for.
Okay.
So you start to build that picture, if you will, about the market, about what your money will buy, what property's selling for, and start to understand the market.
Now, as you know, our viewers come from all over Australia, and I guess the best thing about the internet these days is that you can buy property interstate purely by going on the internet. There's a lot of resources available, pictures of the properties, and there are usually full listings right there on the internet.
That's true, and I mean, you know, one of the things we haven't talked about when you talk about the internet is Google, obviously, and you can travel up and down the street with Google and have a good look at the property. All of those things are quite valuable, and again with the Google Maps and all the rest of it, you can look at where your property would be, where the nearest church or railway station, schools, all those sorts of things. So you can do a lot of research, certainly from your desktop.
Now, Tim, most of our viewers are actually property investors, and so they seem to be a part of the market that is at the most danger of those people in the industry who may not necessarily be totally honest or might have a second agenda. What are the biggest dangers in the industry for property investors?
I'm obviously a huge fan of property, and it wouldn't take anyone by surprise. But I think property is an extremely stable investment, and you know, like I guess with any sort of investment we make, any time we part with our cash and acquire an asset, there's always a danger that that asset is going to move in one direction or another. But I'm quite interested to be looking at the share market right now, and I'm struggling to understand the difference between the TAB and the share market right now, the way it's bouncing around. Yet when you invest in property, you have the comfort, I think, of knowing that whilst there'll be movements in property, typically it's not going to be savage, radical movements where you see your portfolio collapse overnight. So I'm quite comforted about it. I guess I float back to the days of my mum and dad were always saying, sitting around the dining room table, there's just nothing like bricks and mortar.
So Tim, there are some dangers though, for example, the property spruikers, the people who may be in it really for themselves rather than for the property investor.
Yeah, and unfortunately in any industry, Margaret, there are people out there that we have to be mindful of, and they'll always be there. It doesn't matter what industry or profession that is out there, there's always going to be some people that will unfortunately bring disgrace to that profession, and we do be mindful of them. I guess the first thing I'd be doing in the property investment area is checking if somebody was a member of PIPA would be a good example. Dealing with a real estate agent, you would be asking yourself, are they a member of your state or territory institute? And if they're not, well then the question I'd be saying, if not, why not? And I don't think there can be an answer to that. If you're not prepared to subscribe to the standards and ethics that are prescribed by those sorts of organisations, if you're not a member, then as I said, if not, why not? And the alarm bell should be ringing, I think, for consumers dealing with people who are not prepared to subscribe to be a part of their professional association.
Well, it sounds like some great advice there.
Thank you.
Would you come back again next week and talk to us about market value?
Love to come back. Talk to you then.
See you then.
Bye-bye.